you're telling me that Amazon is going to spend $100 billion in AI data centers. Microsoft is going to spend $80 billion in AI data centers. And Google is going to spend $75 billion in AI data centers. That's more than the whole economy of Portugal itself. And that's literally just being spent on data centers, you guys. So in this episode, I want to go in depth about this AI data center spend and what I really think about the future and how it pertains to our stock market. Now, the second thing we're going to discuss is about tariffs. All right. The tariffs have been literally ever since Trump got elected. We've been talking about tariffs this, tariff that. There's a lot of stuff to discuss about tariffs. The very first thing about the capital expenditure that the big tech companies are doing. All right. They have all consistently said that demand is not the issue there. They're getting a lot of demand for AI data centers. They're getting a lot of demand for just data centers in general because every single year there are more data being created and we need a place to store all that data. Because in the past, we used to have pen and paper. That's how we did our record keeping. But now you have digital information. And every single year, there's just more. And you add AI on top of that, AI is going to be creating more digital data. So as a result, these companies like Microsoft, Amazon, and Google, they all have to build out a bigger and bigger data centers so that they can hold on to all this data, which is good news on the demand side. But on the supply side, there's an issue because the demand can't keep up with supply. This to me is music to my ears, you guys. I invest in both Microsoft and Google as a big chunk of my holdings. And when I hear that more data is going to be produced, there's going to be more AI data centers produced, I am thinking about this as okay, right now, Microsoft and Google, they're building the infrastructure, Amazon as well, they're building the infrastructure. But in the future, they will have to reap the rewards of all this hard work they're doing. Because at a certain point, you guys, whoever can handle all this data sets from AI and from humans itself, they're going to get a huge boost in earnings. At least that's my personal opinion on it. And not only are the data centers going to benefit, all the spending that's going to be done, you guys, there's going to be other companies that have to help them out with cooling the data centers, right? I'm thinking about SMCI here. There's going to be other companies that can supply the big tech with chips because you need chips to build out these data centers. I'm thinking about the AMDs. I'm thinking about the NVIDIAs, the other companies that will benefit from all this capital expenditure that is being spent from the big tech companies. And again, I just stated these three companies, but there's going to be more like the Teslas of the world, the Apples of the world, that's going to be creating their own type of data centers or computing power. So all of these spending reminds me of Microsoft back in 2013 when they were spending a lot of money on building out the infrastructure for data centers. And then 10 years later, they're essentially reaping all this reward because the main money maker that for Microsoft at this current moment, although they are so diversified, is still Microsoft Azure. And that is the fastest growing part of Microsoft. And I'm very optimistic it'll continue being the fastest growing part of Microsoft and also be the fastest part of Google as well, the fastest growing part, that is. There will also be other beneficiaries other than tech in this big spending because for all these data centers, it's going to require so much electricity, so much power that there could be nuclear power. There could be companies that's focused on energy creation. Those could also benefit. And not only that, to run a data center, you also need a lot of water to cool the systems. So with all of these things all coming into one place, the AI play is going to really impact the stock market, I believe, in the next 5 to 10 years. Now, the second topic I did want to discuss a lot is about tariffs, you guys. All right. Tariffs is an interesting part because ever since Trump got elected, we have just nonstop been talking about tariffs, and how they're going to make a huge impact on our economy. Well, fun fact for you guys, I don't know if you knew this, but tariffs for the last 70 years, you guys, for the United States, only makes up 1.5% of the revenue that the US gets. So what that means is that for every $100 that the United States makes, only $1.50 is from tariffs. So it doesn't play a big part in the United States economy, and it hasn't played a big part for the last 70 years. However, it wasn't always like this. When the company was first created or born, we made majority of our money through actually tariffs. And it's surprising because when the country was first created, we don't have the federal income tax that we have today, right? We don't have those tax brackets that the modern world has. At that moment in time, the United States citizen had just gone through so many taxes with the British government that they didn't want to do anything to do with federal, federal income taxes in the U.S. So taxes in the U.S. were fairly low, and as a result, the government had to think about new ways of making money, hence where tariffs came from. And essentially, the products that were tariffed made a lot of the revenue for the United States. It was like this for a long, long time until the 1913. Now, to put into perspective, 1913 is just about 100 something years old. Like it hasn't been that long, you guys, since the creation of federal income taxes. Because when federal income taxes were implemented and put into effect in 1913, that's when tariffs started becoming less and less of a big importance. Because at that moment in time, the government was making a lot more money from federal income taxes than tariffs itself. So because of that, tariffs fell dramatically. And fun fact is that when the federal income taxes were first implemented, the taxes were not so high. However, in 1950s, the highest earners in the United States could be taxed as high as 90% during the 1950s. And if to put it into perspective, for the highest earners, it almost made no sense to make that much money if you were getting like 90% of your income taxed at that rate. I share this information with you guys because tariffs haven't played a huge part in the United States economy for a big time, and I don't think it's about to start now. To me, tariffs are used as mainly as a negotiation tool rather than actual implementation. So as a result of this, anytime we're getting so many volatility in the stock market due to tariff news, I'm using those all as a buying opportunity, you guys, because for me, I am bullish on the stock market for years to come. Not even years, actually, just decades to come. So as a result of that, anytime we have been getting volatility due to tariffs, that I've been using it as a buying opportunity. Now, with all that being said, with tariffs going higher and higher, one of the companies that might surprise you in going stock price going higher is Costco. Because Costco has recently surpassed $1,000. And one of the things I noticed about my Costco holdings, I have about 80% of my net worth split between Costco and Microsoft, is that Costco during times of crisis tends to do very well. In that, I remember during COVID 2020 that Costco was still a company that made money. And it's because even during bad economies, because of the vital things that Costco sells, it's like, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna grocery shop because Costco sells quality goods at the lowest possible margins. That during times of crisis, this is a company that a lot of people go and seek safety. That anytime we have volatility, things like that, people love rushing into Costco because this is a company, at least in my opinion, that can make money during good economies and bad economies just because of the low margin items they sell. And as a result of this, I'm going to be continuing to buy all the three companies that I talked about today: the Costco's, the Microsoft, and the Googles.